Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a deep dive into something many of you might be actively using or maybe just curious about. Creatine. That's 11 big mistakes when taking creatine you should never make. Our mission today is really to cut through the noise, debunk some of those persistent myths, and reveal the surprisingly nuanced ways to truly maximize creatine's benefits. Get ready to rethink some common assumptions. Okay, let's unpack one of the most fundamental misunderstandings right off the bat. A pitfall many people fall into, not taking creatine consistently, like especially on non-training days.
Yeah, that's a big one. And what's truly fascinating here is grasping creatine's chronic effect.
Chronic effect, what does that mean exactly?
Well, unlike, say, a pre-workout that gives you an immediate jolt, creatine works differently. It works by gradually building up a reservoir of phosphocreatine inside your muscle cells. You only truly experience its full power, its real benefits, when that internal tank is completely full. It takes time.
Okay, so it's a build-up process.
Precisely. So if you skip days, whether it's a weekend, maybe a holiday, or just a day, you're not hitting the gym with the levels in this reservoir. They actually begin to drop. This means you're constantly playing catch-up, never quite reaching or maintaining that optimal saturation point where creatine really delivers its peak benefits.
That brings up a crucial point then, because I think a lot of people link their creatine intake directly to their workouts, right?
Yeah.
Maybe taking with a post-workout shake or something. So what happens on those rest days when that routine is broken? Does missing just one day really set you back that much?
It absolutely does, because of that chronic effect we just talked about. If you're only taking it on training days, you're essentially preventing your muscles from ever reaching or, importantly, staying at full saturation. Think of it like trying to fill a bucket that has a slow leak. If you only pour water in occasionally, it never quite gets full, or it drains back down pretty quickly.
That's a great analogy.
So the key takeaway, really, for anyone serious about getting results is simple. Take it every single day, without fail, regardless of whether you train or not.
Okay, every single day. Got it. So understanding that consistent intake is crucial, it begs the question, why? Why does consistency matter so much? Let's peel back the layers a bit and truly grasp how creatine works inside your body, because I feel like that's where many people miss a key piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, exactly. So as we've mentioned, creatine gets stored within your muscle cells. Now, when that internal reservoir is full, it has two primary sort of synergistic effects. First, it actually attracts water into the muscle cell. Now, this isn't just superficial bloating like some people worry about.
Right.
This is water specifically entering the muscle cells themselves. It's a process called cell volumization. And beyond just making muscles look fuller, which it does, this cellular swelling can actually be an anabolic signal. It might help promote protein synthesis, maybe even aid in nutrient delivery into the cell.
Interesting. So it's functional water, not just aesthetic.
Exactly. And it's important to note this water does add weight. So if you start taking creatine and you see your scale jump up a few pounds pretty quickly, don't worry. A good portion of that is almost certainly this beneficial water weight inside your muscles. It's not fat gain.
Okay, good to know. What's the second effect?
The second effect, and this is fundamentally important for performance, is that a full creatine reservoir directly provides immediate energy to the muscle. This energy is crucial for those short, explosive movements. Think weightlifting, sprinting. It translates directly into increased strength, more power, and just the ability to perform more repetitions during your workouts. Basically, it helps regenerate ATP, your body's main energy currency, at a much faster rate during intense bursts.
Okay, that makes sense. It's providing the fuel for that extra push.
Precisely.
So with the basics covered, consistency, how it works, let's address some of the persistent whispers and maybe outright myths that keep people from fully embracing creatine. Starting with a classic. Coffee and creatine. Do they really cancel each other out? I hear this all the time.
Oh, this myth. It just won't die, isn't it?
Right.
Okay, look. If we connect this to the bigger picture, some very early studies, we're looking at isolated cells in a lab. They did hint at potentially lower absorption when creatine was consumed directly with caffeine. However, subsequent, much more comprehensive human studies have pretty definitively shown that, in practice, for typical daily doses people actually use, it makes no effective difference whatsoever, really.
No real-world impact.
Not for most people, no. The only theoretical scenario where it might even be a tiny consideration is if you were consuming extremely high doses of both creatine and caffeine simultaneously, which isn't typical and probably not recommended anyway for daily use. So, bottom line, you can absolutely enjoy your morning coffee with your creatine without any worry.
Okay, myth busted. Good. Now, another widespread fear, one that really deters people. The idea that creatine causes kidney stones or damages your kidneys. Is there any truth to that, or is it just another classic misinformation trap?
Absolutely none. This is a complete myth, plain and simple.
Really? That definitive?
Yes. While creatine is processed by the body and some byproducts like creatinine are naturally excreted by your kidneys and urine, there is simply no credible scientific evidence linking creatine supplementation in healthy individuals to kidney stones or kidney damage. And that's a crucial distinction. Healthy individuals.
Right.
Now, you know what is often linked to kidney issues and general health problems and is far, far more common.
What's that?
Simple dehydration. Just not drinking enough water.
So many people just don't drink enough water, whether they're taking creatine or not. The general recommendation for optimal hydration is roughly 35 milliliters of water per kilogram of body weight. So, for a 70-kilogram person, that's about 2.45 liters a day. If you actually do the math for yourself, you might find you're falling pretty far short of that target.
That's probably true for a lot of us.
Definitely. In fact, some experts suggest up to 80% of common headaches are simply due to being dehydrated.
Wow.
So the message is, hydrate properly for your overall health anyway. And please don't blame creatine for kidney problems if the real issue might just be you're not drinking enough water in the first place.
That's great clarity on those myths. But you mentioned creatine being processed and excreted. It does make me wonder, though, is there any amount of creatine that could potentially overwhelm healthy kidneys, even if it's not forming stones? And kind of related, some people still argue that cycling creatine, taking breaks from it is beneficial. Is there any merit to that, or is that mostly an outdated idea now? Those are excellent questions, really getting into the nuances. Okay, first, for healthy kidneys, they're incredibly efficient organs. They're built to handle waste products, and even higher reasonable doses of creatine typically won't overwhelm them. Any excess your body can't store is simply filtered out and excreted. The key word, again, is healthy. If you do have pre-existing kidney conditions, then yes, you absolutely should consult a doctor before taking any supplement, including creatine.
Makes sense. And the cycling.
Right, cycling. The current scientific consensus is that for healthy individuals, cycling creatine is largely unnecessary. The idea often stemmed from some early concerns, maybe theoretical concerns, about the body reducing its own natural creatine production over the long term. But long-term studies haven't really shown this to be a significant issue. For continuous benefits, and importantly for maintaining that full muscle reservoir we talked about, consistent daily use is now generally preferred over cycling.
Okay, so continuous use is the way to go for most people. Good to know. So let's say you're committed now. You're taking it daily. You understand how it works. You're not worried about coffee or kidneys.
Right.
But how do you actually take it to, quickly maximize those muscle stores? Because apparently another mistake is just ignoring the administration protocols or maybe not even knowing you have options.
Right. There are basically two main scientifically backed ways to effectively fill that creatine reservoir. The first is just the standard approach, simply taking your daily maintenance dose, which, as we discussed, will typically take about maybe 30 days, give or take, before you truly feel its full performance-enhancing power kick in.
Yeah.
It's a slower accumulation, but it gets you there eventually and just as effectively.
30 days. Okay. What's the other way?
The other way, if you want to reach that full capacity faster, is using what's called a saturation protocol, often just called a loading phase.
Loading phase, right? I've heard of that.
Yeah. This involves taking a higher amount for a short period, specifically 20 grams of creatine per day. But crucially, you divide that dose, usually into 4 separate 5-gram doses, spread throughout the day.
Why divide it?
Dividing the dose helps optimize absorption. Taking 20 grams all at once means a larger portion might just get excreted without being used. Spreading it out helps your body absorb more of it. And you only do this loading phase for 1 week. That's usually enough. This method gets your muscle reservoir full in only about 7 days, meaning you can start experiencing the benefits much sooner than the standard approach.
1 week versus about a month. Okay, so that's a significant difference if you're impatient.
Exactly. Both methods work. It just depends on how quickly you want to reach saturation.
All right. So knowing how crucial proper administration and dosing are, the next logical question for our listeners has to be, how do you ensure you're getting a quality product in the first place? Because I've heard, and the source video mentions, that creatine is apparently one of the most counterfeited supplements out there. That's definitely a concern if you're looking to invest in your health.
It absolutely is a valid concern. Yeah, this raises an important question of product integrity and, frankly, consumer protection. To ensure you're getting genuine, pure creatine monohydrate, which is the most studied and effective form, you have two main reliable paths. First, you can look for the Creepure seal on the packaging.
Creeper.
Yes, CREPURE. It signifies a high-quality creatine monohydrate that's manufactured in Germany under very strict regulations. It's known for its purity and rigorous manufacturing standards. It's essentially a stamp of quality assurance.
Okay, creepier. Good tip. What's the alternative?
The alternative, which is often more accessible depending on where you shop, is to purchase your creatine from a reputable and trusted supplement brand or laboratory. Look for brands that are transparent about their sourcing and, ideally, provide third-party testing results for purity and potency. The key really is to trust the source and look for that transparency. Don't just grab the cheapest unknown brand off the shelf.
Right. Do a little homework on the brand itself.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah. Now, shifting gears slightly. There's a common perception, maybe fueled by marketing, that creatine is some kind of magic powder. Take this and it will instantly transform your physique. Is that the reality, or are people setting themselves up for disappointment with, let's be honest, unrealistic expectations?
Yeah, that's a really important point to address. If we connect this to the bigger picture, creatine is definitely not a magic bullet. It just isn't. Creatine will help, absolutely. And it's remarkably effective for what it does, probably one of the most effective legal supplements out there. But it won't instantly give you a superhuman physique overnight. It's just not how it works.
So manage expectations.
Exactly. Think of it as a powerful aid, a performance enhancer. But it's absolutely not a substitute for the fundamental pillars of fitness and building muscle.
And that leads directly into what the source called another critical error.
Yeah.
Taking creatine, but completely neglecting the absolute foundation.
Yeah.
Right? Like diet and proper training. It's like buying premium fuel for a car that, I don't know, doesn't have an engine or has flat tires.
That's a perfect analogy. Exactly.
Yeah.
Creatine enhances what you're already doing well. It amplifies your efforts. The absolute non-negotiable foundation for building an exceptional physique, for improving strength, or optimizing any physical performance is always going to be a solid, consistent diet. That means ensuring adequate protein intake, consuming essential micronutrients from vegetables, getting sufficient carbohydrates for energy, all that good stuff.
The basics.
The basics. Combined with intense, progressive, and proper training, you have to put in the work at the gym. Supplements, including creatine, come in to support and optimize these fundamental efforts. They don't replace them. They're the polish, not the underlying structure.
Okay, well put. Now, here's something that might surprise some people, a fact that often gets overlooked. Is creatine only for people who train intensely, like bodybuilders or powerlifters? Or are there broader benefits we should know about?
Not at all. And this is where the science has really expanded, especially in recent years. It's quite exciting, actually. While intense training will certainly amplify the results you see in terms of muscle growth and strength, new studies are constantly emerging, linking creatine to various benefits beyond just getting stronger in the gym.
Like what?
Well, for instance, creatine has been shown quite convincingly now to significantly improve cognitive activity.
Really? Brain function?
Yes. Think of it like this. Just as it provides more immediate energy, ATP, to your muscles for intense work, it seems to do something similar for your brain's neurons. So it might potentially enhance mental clarity, focus, memory, and overall cognitive function, especially during demanding mental tasks. It's like giving your brain more readily available energy.
Wow, I didn't realize it had that effect.
It's a growing area of research. And beyond that, it's even highly recommended now for elderly individuals.
For seniors, why?
To help improve their muscle strength and, importantly, combat age-related muscle loss, which is called sarcopenia. Even if they don't engage in rigorous weight training, it helps maintain muscle mass and function, which is crucial for quality of life as we age. So yeah, it truly offers widespread benefits that many people completely overlook if they only think of it as a bodybuilding supplement.
That's fascinating. Cognitive benefits. Benefits for the elderly.
Okay.
Okay. Finally, let's talk about perhaps the most common mistake of all, even if people get everything else right: consuming the wrong dose. How do we nail this down?
Yes, the dose. This is absolutely critical for actually maximizing that muscle reservoir we keep talking about. You'll often see recommendations from regulatory bodies. The source mentions Anvisa, which is Brazil's agency, but similar things happen elsewhere, providing a very cautious standard recommendation, often around 5 grams per day.
Right. 5 grams seems to be the standard number thrown around.
Yeah. It is, but you have to understand that's often considered super conservative. It's designed to be generally safe for the broadest possible population, not necessarily optimized for peak performance or ensuring full muscle saturation. The ideal dose, based on the bulk of the latest scientific studies, is actually more precisely calculated. It's usually pegged at 0.07 grams of creatine per kilogram of body weight.
Okay, 0.07 grams per kilo. Let's make that practical.
Right. So to give you a concrete example, if someone weighs, say, 103 kilograms, that's about 227 pounds,
Okay.
they would need approximately 7.2 to 7.5 grams of creatine per day. 103 kilograms, 0.07 g kilograms, to effectively fill their muscle reservoir and, importantly, maintain it at that full level.
So significantly more than the standard 5 grams for a heavier person.
Exactly. And taking significantly less than your body actually needs, based on your weight, could mean that your body is using it up almost as fast as you take it in, especially during training. The result: that reservoir never truly fills up, or it doesn't stay full, which means you're just not getting the optimal benefits you could be.
And what about taking too much? Is there a danger there?
Generally, taking a bit more than the calculated recommendation isn't considered harmful for healthy individuals. At most, your body just won't be able to store it, and you'll simply excrete the excess in your urine. It might be a waste of money, but typically not dangerous, which is why some experts, including the speaker in the source video, mention they personally take a slightly higher dose, maybe around 0.1 grams per kilogram of body weight. So a 100-kilogram person might take 10 grams. Just to ensure full saturation.
Okay, so 0.075 kilograms is the science-backed target. Maybe slightly more isn't harmful. That's much clearer than just saying 5 grams for everyone.
Much clearer, yes. It's personalized.
And just to tie it all together, one last time, remember, this proper dosing, getting that right, it's still just one part of that complete picture. It always needs to be combined with a good diet, sufficient protein intake, and effective training. Creatine is the optimizer, not the standalone solution.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So there you have it. A pretty deep dive into creatine, wouldn't you say?
Definitely covered a lot of ground.
From understanding its crucial chronic effect and why that continuous daily need is so important to, finally debunking those stubborn myths about coffee and kidney stones, and then nailing down those critical administration protocols, loading or standard, and especially the precise dosing based on body weight. It's clear that creatine is a powerful, well-researched tool, but only when it's used correctly and intelligently.
Yeah, this deep dive really highlights something important, I think, which is that knowledge is really only valuable when it's understood accurately and then applied properly. We've seen how common misconceptions, these mistakes we talked about, can not only waste your money, but genuinely hinder your progress. Whereas a clear, nuanced understanding of the actual science, that unlocks significant potential for anyone looking to optimize their health and performance.
Absolutely. So as we reflect on everything we've unpacked today, here's a little something provocative to think about. Given how often simple, foundational issues like chronic dehydration, as we discussed, are actually at the root of more complex health complaints or perceived supplement failures, what other fundamental aspects of our well-being might we be overlooking or maybe even overcomplicating in our constant quest for the next advanced solution or specialized supplement? Something to mull over.